Yo, what's going on everyone? In this one, I'm going to show you guys how you can take down this gatekeeper boss fight. Now, this boss fight was honestly pretty hard, the hardest one for me at least up until this point, and I was definitely stuck on it for about 4 hours until I finally decided to change my loadout, and I was able to beat the boss in about 20 or 30 minutes at this point. Now, one thing to keep in mind during this boss fight is that there is this sniper or this guy that has a weapon up top, and they're going to be fighting you out throughout the fight. And so it can get a little bit annoying and distracting throughout the fight, and it can actually interrupt your ability to block some of the attacks. So just keep that in mind and also be patient with this boss. Like I said, it definitely took me like 4 hours to beat it, and it was the hardest one for me up until this point. Now, what definitely helped quite a bit was changing my loadout. So very quickly, I'm going to go over everything that I had on. Now, up until this point, the only weapon I've really been using was the Juniper Sword. And so I have quite a few upgrades in this weapon. Now, I find the Juniper Sword to be the best weapon in the game, at least for my playstyle. It has really great weapon attack speed, and you're also able to do quite a bit of damage. Now, I've tested out quite a few of these other weapons, and they all do pretty good damage output. It's just the mobility and your agility while using them just seems to be pretty low. So that's why I stick with the Juniper Sword. As you can see, I've got 8 upgrades in it now, but it's definitely not necessary to beat this fight. What's more necessary, in my opinion, is the mask and some of the abilities which I'm going to show you, and they're going to help you guys out quite a bit. Now, these lines you can put on, however, I actually suggest not really worrying too much about the lines. For this particular boss, you're not really going to need them. More important in this one is going to be your role and the aspect. So as you can see here, I'm going to be running the aspect of the enchanter. Now each aspect you put on, it's going to mess with your stats a little bit. And so you may not be able to use certain weapons with certain classes. So just keep that in mind. That's the one that I'm using. Now I'm going to be running the Mask of Zanny. And here's a quick look at all of the abilities that I'm going to be using if you want to copy them. Now some of these are pretty great. They have some awesome effects. And I have made videos on where it is you can unlock all of these in case maybe you don't have them yet. Now these aspects and these lines and layers definitely helped quite a bit throughout the fight. And I would suggest trying to put as many of them as you can, as they're going to do some pretty great effects. Now, on top of that, we're going to put on specific aspects and masks, which are going to make it so that our health bar is much larger than it normally would be. So here's just a quick look at all my stats. You can copy what you want, but it's totally up to you. But as you can see, I've got a considerably larger health bar than normal. And then on top of that, due to some of the abilities that I have on, each time I use a healing potion, it's going to do considerably more healing. Now, one more thing I did do before going into the boss fight was actually change my graphic settings from performance over to graphics. Now, I don't really think this made too much of a difference. In fact, it actually slows your game down a bit in order to give you guys better graphics. I'm not really sure if that made a difference, but the first time after changing my settings, I literally beat the boss on my first try. So I thought that was interesting. I definitely think it had more so to do with my loadout. But as you can see, as soon as I change over to that, it slows the game down and it actually does make it harder to parry these attacks, in my opinion. But that was just something that I thought was interesting. I thought I'd maybe throw that on if you're really struggling. Maybe it did give me a little extra time to dodge his attacks. I'm really not sure. But as you can see here, guys, once we get into the fight, the start of the fight really didn't start out too good for me. However, I was able to get it together pretty quickly. Like I said, guys, there's going to be that guy up top that's periodically going to snipe you out. I did search around to try to find a way up there, and you can get up there, but I was not able to take down the enemy before the boss fight. I did try. There may be a way to do it, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to find it. Now, once you guys get into this boss fight, I was able to beat it even with the sniper up top. But what you'll want to do is actually sort of be a little bit aggressive here at the beginning half of the fight. Now, with these upgrades and aspects I told you guys to put on, each time you pop a healing potion, you're actually going to get a lot of health back. So what you'll want to do is actually go ahead and allow the boss to get your health low. Like if he hits you, you don't have to run away immediately. As you can see, you're able to take quite a few hits from him. So get your health down as low as possibly before you go and pop a health potion. What you'll want to do instead is stay aggressive on him. Try to parry as many attacks as you can. And you'll see once you've parried about 5-10 attacks, you will build up that momentum bar or that blue bar down at the bottom. Once you have done this, you can immediately knock the boss over, and you should be about halfway through the fight at this point. Now, the second half of the fight is much harder than the first. As you can see here, the boss's sword is going to turn pink. Anytime that the boss hits you with this pink attack, what it's going to do is it's actually going to hit you with a really bad debuff. And once you have this debuff on, any attacks that the boss does are going to do almost double damage, meaning that he can literally two-hit you, even with this massive health bar we have. So what you want to do is just keep an eye on that attack. Keep up with the same rhythm. Just make sure to parry his attacks as they come in. As you can see, you can parry the attacks, but your timing has to be on point. This is the part of the boss fight that definitely took me a while. I was having almost no trouble getting through the first half, but as you can see, the second half can get kind of crazy. And I actually got pretty lucky there as he depleted my health bar completely, but I was able to get it back up. Now, if you run the same exact abilities as me, every now and again, you're going to get this crossbow, and you can use that to get a little bit of a range damage. It's not much, maybe about 200. Now, keep in mind in the second half of the fight, when he's got this pink sword out, he will be able to do range attacks on you. Now that pink sword, it's only going to last for about 3 hits. So you can parry those 3 hits. As you can see, it goes back to normal and he's not going to have those attacks anymore, but they will come back around every so often. Now I tried to use this crossbow or this range attack to actually take out the sniper up top, but every time I would try to snipe him out with the ability, my arrow would end up hitting the guardrail. So like I said, it's really tough to take out the sniper. I would just focus more on trying to beat down the boss. But as you can see here, if you parry enough of his attacks, once you get the timing down for the dodging, it's actually not too tough. It's really more of a fight of being patient, keeping an eye on your stamina, and making sure to block as many of his attacks as you can. Now, once you do this and you get this rhythm down, you should be able to beat the boss with the aspects and things that I have on. Now, as you can see here, guys, even at the end of the fight, and it's pretty crazy, but he almost took me down quite a few times. The boss gets more and more aggressive as his health bar gets lower. So once it gets really, really low, you got to be careful to finish it up. Now, that's pretty much it, guys. Hopefully, this helps you out. I'll be making a ton more guides and walkthroughs as I complete my playthrough. So stay tuned, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.